What is going on, guys? For today's video, I'm going to show you the best Kinetic Blast, Deadeye and Warden build in Path of Exile 3.27. This is the upgraded Wonder build that combines Deadeye's projectile mastery with Warden's onslaught and phasing mechanics for a build that clears like lightning fast and scales effortlessly into the endgame. This is not your typical bow Deadeye or the slow start Wonder setup. With the new projectile interaction updates and the Warden Ascendancy reworks, this version turns into a full-screen demolition engine that thrives on speed, ricochet and non-stop explosions. No matter if you're farming shrines, running juiced maps, or pushing for the void stones, this build just gives you that trademark kinetic chaos that just feels incredible. And remember, if you're looking for this build's path of building, then check my link in the description. This version of the Kinetic Blast build will focus around the Deadeye or the Warden hybrid Ascendancy, so you can pick either or depending on the setup. The Kinetic Blast as always will fire projectiles that explode multiple times on impact, but now thanks to the endless munitions and the ricochet, every shot chains, overlaps and clears entire packs instantly. And the new Warden path enhances this with a permanent onslaught uptime, increasing projectile speed and pacing by letting you stay in this motion 24/7. You'll be attacking, repositioning and detonating the screens all at once. The build clears with a Kinetic Blast for AoV, and then swaps to the Kinetic Bolt or the Barrage for bosses. You can run the Kinetic Bolt Ballista Totem as a secondary setup for single target pressure while maintaining the map control yourself. The new 3.27 projectile mechanics also make the Tornado and the Flame Wall support incredibly effective. Their scaling will multiply off your projectile hits, so when everything overlaps, your damage will skyrocket. This build does not require any unique items to function, but really takes off when you add the Ashes Mirror, the Replica Hire's Ire, or the Taming. It's fast, it's safe and extremely flexible. Once your flasks and suppressions are online, it becomes a high tempo mapper that never stops moving. And before we continue, thanks to U4GM, they are a pro website that provides Path of Exile services like cheap currency, then even to trade all types of top quality items and mirrors and much more. They also have more than 20,000 positive comments on Trustpilot, and this website is really worth a try. So make sure to use my discount code KAID for extra 6% off. So, let's talk about leveling. This build is smooth all the way through the campaign, as long as you transition at the right time. We will start with the Explosive Concoction, Rain of Arrows or the Lightning Arrow. These are easy to scale, have a great clear, and don't need a gear investment. And then once you complete the Merciless Lab and pick up the Endless Munitions, that's when you make the swap into the Kinetic Blast. Early on, your focus should be on life, evasion and reliable mana sustain, keeping your positioning sharp, and grab a quick silver flasks as soon as possible for mobility. For your early auras, use the Grace for defense and the Herald of Ice for the clear speed. Also, if mana allows, then add Wrath for the damage boost. And then, as you progress towards mapping, you want to start building into evasion and spell suppression. Then add the Ghost Dance for the burst protection and later mix in the hybrid evasion and energy shield gear for the smoother recovery. During this time, you'll also want to start using the cast when damage taken linked to the Immortal Call. This small automation setup does a ton for your survivability. By the time that we reach the red maps, you should have the Grace and Determination running together. Then the Arctic Armor if your mana allows, and capped resistances. The build will transform beautifully from the campaign into the Atlas mapping without any awkward downtime. Then next up, let's go over the Ascendancy. As a Deadeye or the Warden, you will take advantage of the both classic projectile scaling and the new onslaught synergy. First, we will take the Gathering Winds for the permanent tailwind and a huge action speed. This instantly improves both the clear speed and the bossing. Then second, we grab Ricochet to add natural chain to your projectiles. This increases the clear speed massively, and all of those will be chained explosions that can still hit the same target. Then third, we take Endless Munitions. This is where you unlock the full potential of the Kinetic Blast, aka we will get extra projectiles and larger AoV, which means faster mapping and consistent overlaps. And then finally, we take Focal Point. This turns your mark setup into a major offense and defensive boost, as enemies marked by the Assassin's Mark will take more damage and deal less to us. And then on the Warden, if you choose him, then the synergy will add permanent onslaught uptime, pacing and projectile speed bonuses that stack with the tailwind, and the result is a hyper agile Wonder that constantly maintains buffs and never slows down. Then next we go to our skill tree, and it is designed around scaling projectile damage, the crit and suppression, while solving early stat requirements. During the campaign, we start by taking the ranger's projectile nodes, then head towards acrobatics for the early dodge before respeccing into the spell suppression later. You'll want to allocate entrenched and take the mastery, for chance to suppress spell damage is lucky, and this alone will make a huge difference in survivability. And then offensively, we focus on the wand masteries, for the wand attacks will fire an additional projectile, and the chance to deal double damage. These will scale perfectly with a Kinetic Blast. Critical strike nodes like the Heartseeker, Lethality, and the Overcharge will round out our offensive setup once you transition into the full crit. And then attribute-wise, we get a bunch of dexterity and intelligence through the gear, until our rares catch up. Around the 2 Voidstone mark, your stats should look roughly like this, so 3000 combined life and energy shield, capped suppression, and at least 1 million DPS. And then at 4 Voidstones, we expect closer to 3.6 to 4k HP. Next up we have our skill gems, and the main build revolves around the Kinetic Blast linked with the greater multiple projectiles. Inspiration, increased critical strikes, elemental damage with the attacks and returning projectiles, and this is our primary clearing link. Then for bosses we swap to the Kinetic Blast, to Kinetic Bolt and returning projectiles to the Barrage. This tightens projectile speed, and stacks overlapping hits on a single target. And then to push single target damage further, we use Kinetic Bolt Ballista Totems, which is a setup of the Kinetic Bolt Ballista Totem support elemental damage with the attacks, and Power Charge on the crit, which gives you consistent extra pressure while keeping you firing. Then for supplemental scaling, the Spell Slinger with the Flame Wall will add flat fire damage to your attacks. Then Tornado is another massive multiplier. Every projectile you fire into it will snapshot its damage, so your first burst will boost the rest of the fight. Then utility setups like the Assassin's Mark, linked to the mark on a hit for automation, Flame Dash or the Shield Charge for mobility, and then cast when damage taken, linked to the Immortal Call for emergency protection. Then for Aras we run the Grace, Wrath of the Zealatory for the damage, and Determination for the defense, once your mana pool allows. Defiance Banner is also great for extra stacks if you can fit it. Next up we have items, and the setup is extremely flexible and can run on entirely rare items. The wand is your priority slot. You want as much flat elemental damage to attacks as possible, then critical strike chance, attack speed and a critical multiplier. The spell damage is also very strong here, since it scales off your attacks directly. Then for shields, look for increased spell damage, attack speed, and a chance to deal double the damage. Your body armor can start as a high evasion rare, and then later upgrade into the replica Hyros Ire or the crafted explode chest. Then for gloves, boots, and the helmet, you should all stack evasion, life, resistances, and spell suppression. The Algor Mortis gloves are great for the early pickup, since enemies in the chilling areas will take increased damage, and it got a perfect synergy for this Cold Lightning hybrid build. Then rings and amulets will fill in your missing stats, like resistances, life, and the flat elemental damage. The Taming or the Death Rush are great uniques if they drop, and Azuris Foible will remain a solid option for the mana sustain early on. And then flasks are the classics: Divine Life, Divine Mana, Jade, the Quartz, and the Silver. These gives you everything, so sustain, speed, dodge, and pacing for the smooth mapping. And now finally, let's go over the gameplay. This build feels ridiculously fast and fluid. You'll be consistently moving, attacking, and detonating entire screens of enemies before they can even appear on your minimap. The Kinetic Blast will chain off everything, so walls, boxes, and the mobs all will feed into the chaos. Then, as you can see, the movement is buttery smooth thanks to the tailwind, the onslaught, and the pacing. The mana sustain from the foible or the crafted region will mean that you can fire non-stop without running dry. And then, once the shrine effects or the onslaught flasks will kick in, the build will hit overdrive. It's fast enough to rival Flicker Strike in the clear speed, but far more controlled. In boss fights, we will then swap to the Kinetic Bolt and let your ballista stack up damage, while you combine Tornado and the Flame Wall for massive bursts. Then Assassin's Mark and Focal Point keeps your crit capped, and Immortal Call will trigger automatically to prevent random one-shots. Overall, this build is incredibly responsive, versatile, and satisfying to play in every environment, from the low-tier mapping to the high endgame Delirium or the Pinnacle encounters. And now, last but not least, let's go over a few important tips and tricks. We want to start with strong rares that cap your resistances early, and prioritize attack speed on every upgrade. Keep your mana regeneration high. This build lives and dies by its uptime. Always remember to swap your gem links for bossing, so Kinetic Blast for clear, and Kinetic Bolt and Barrage for single target. Then also get your spell suppression capped as soon as you can. Around 4-stone progression that becomes the key to surviving the Maven, Uber Elder, or similar bosses. Once you hit hit the full suppression, then consider upgrading to the hybrid gear, with energy shield recovery to benefit from the ghost dance. And then, if you're farming shrines, pick up the shrine synergy nodes on your Atlas tree. The Tailwind and Acceleration shrines will stack with your buffs, pushing your attack speed and the movement speed to insane levels. And finally, when engaging bosses, always drop your tornado first, and then fire Kinetic Bolt throughout for maximum overlap damage. Summoning your ballistas before the fight will start to preload your damage and let the ricochets do the rest. Overall, this build rewards precision and the rhythm, and once it clicks, it becomes one of the fastest and most explosive wand builds available in 3.27.